So we talked earlier about the different options that face Israeli entrepreneurs, selling their company, going public on a variety of exchanges. Obviously, the option that is presented as well is to go public on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. So to talk a bit about that dynamic in the growing economy of Israel, Yossi Beinart, the CEO of Tel Aviv Stock Exchange.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Landmark, for having us. On the panel that was here about, I think 20 minutes ago, maybe half an hour ago, the number was quoted that about 20% of IPOs, of companies ever backed by VCs, actually go public. And we could ask ourselves two questions. First of all, is this a natural law, i.e., is this the right number? Is this what will happen no matter what we do? And if the answer is no, why is it, and are we, and specifically the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, doing everything it can to increase this number? And of course, I'm speaking from the position, but a report that was done by the European Federation of Securities Exchanges, which I think is published as we speak, they basically said that the best thing for the economy is for companies to be small, to start small, grow, and become public. They quoted some unbelievable numbers. Things like that all jobs created in the United States since the financial crisis were from small companies. Big companies shed jobs. Small companies create jobs. Many, many things which benefit the economy. So we go back to basics and we look at ourselves. And Israel, as everybody knows, is fertile ground for innovation. The statistics on the left were first in innovation, second in entrepreneurship. 90 exits every year. 15% of GDP is high-tech, 30% of industrial export is high-tech. The investment in R&D in Israel compared to the OECD average is almost double as a percent of GDP, which is a very impressive number. We're obviously a small country, the number in total is small, but it seems that the return on investment from this number is actually very, very, very high. We do live in a tough neighborhood. We do spend, as a percent of GDP, the highest percentage in the world on defense. But it turns out that this spending has some side benefits. Technology that is created for military sometimes has civilian use. But I think more important than that is the fact that culturally speaking, in a strange way, the military creates a culture of entrepreneurs. The people coming out of the military with some technical knowledge, the way it is structured is such that it is encouraged. It's not a structure you know in the United States. We're all Israelis. We basically do things in a different way. We have chutzpah. We don't listen, but it does give good results. And you see it. You see it in more than 4,000 startups operating right now in Israel, about 6,000 companies in the high-tech sector. But the question really, really is the finance sector serving them properly? Giving them their needs? Is the end result the best, the optimal result that they can achieve during their journey from startup, from getting money for your neighbor, to becoming great, to becoming a multi-billion-dollar company? Look at the numbers. There were $5 billion worth of exits in 2014. Somebody told me yesterday it's actually 6, so my number may be wrong. There's 63 Israeli companies on NASDAQ. There's 46 of them duly listed. There's 127 high-tech companies on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. Look at all it together. All these companies, they all started as startups, or most of them did. When they achieved what they achieved, did they do it in the right path? And when you look at these companies, and I have absolutely no qualms with them, they've done what was right for them at the time, you see a very, 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 very large number of companies that were purchased by larger companies. Now, you could say, it's great for the investors, it's probably great for the founders, it's great for the employees, but is this optimal? So if a company does it for an M&A reason, great. They need synergies, they can grow faster, I'm very, very happy. But if a company is purchased because there was their only way to continue to live, we, the stock exchange, the financial system in Israel, have failed in our mission, because our mission, to put it bluntly, is to connect money with smart people in the most efficient way. And if for some reason we don't provide them with the capital they need when they need it, we're not doing our job. So I joined the exchange about a year ago, a little over a year, and That was actually the first question we asked. And the answer was, we don't. We see a lot of cases of companies that reach a size which could be public. Maybe not on NASDAQ, but it's too small, maybe $150 million market cap. That for some reason, when they needed the next round of investment, they ended up being purchased. And when that happens, very quickly after that, a company that could have R&D, sales, marketing, some branches abroad, very quickly turns into an R&D center. Now, we have to make sure this only happens when it's the right answer. If it's the wrong answer, make sure it doesn't happen. So, if you look at strategically what we're trying to do, it's that. We gave it a name from cradle to greatness. And the idea behind this is to see that we make sure that we, at the exchange, catch those companies as early as we can. We want to know them the first day or the first few weeks after they're established. We announced this week something called cap table. We're solving something that may be a very, very simple problem. You have few investors, you have some options, very quickly you do the second round, you have some preferred stock, you have who knows what, you have to manage that. You should ask yourself, why does the stock exchange care about managing something like a cap table that's done usually by the accountant on a spreadsheet? Well, I have two reasons. One, this way I'll know all the CFOs, so it will be much easier to talk to them if they ever want to be public. And secondly, it is very, very possible that at some point in their being, the investors may want some liquidity while the company is still private. So, a most natural progression of this is to start developing what they call private markets. Now, I didn't invent this. NASDAQ is doing this, other exchanges are doing this, and it's probably the right progression in the marketplace. Because of new ways of funding, because of technology, it is possible and likely that there will be a huge number of private companies that got funded privately, but at some point liquidity is needed. And I would very much like us to be the provider of this liquidity or this, the technology for the clearing for the liquidity event when it occurs. The next thing, if they manage, they're growth companies. So Israel is known for innovation and extremely difficult and annoying regulation. Maybe it's for the same reason, but it's a fact. So there was some effort done by the Israeli Security Authority, us, and hopefully the new government when it comes into being, to make the life of SMEs, of small to medium-sized enterprise going quickly, easier. And I'm just giving you some examples. For the companies, the first thing we're going to provide with the fund, with us and the chief scientist, is research, analysis. One of the problems of small companies going public, nobody knows who they are, nobody cares, nobody will invest as a result, there will be no liquidity. So we're going to sponsor analysis by an international, well-known research firm that will do that for them. Investor relations support. There's a staggering statistic. Over 50% of companies on the Israeli stock exchange don't have an investor relation function. So it's kind of hard to have your investors happy if you don't even talk to them. They'll be able to report US GAAP. The disclosures will be in English, things of that ilk. On the side of the investors, we're working to get tax benefits. It's hard to tell with the change of government we will get it. And we're going to make sure that there's as much information available both on the companies, form of analysis, and on the industry they're in. So in effect, start to create in Israel an ecosystem for technology companies, which are small, hopefully growing very quickly. So let's say we succeed, and everything is great, and now the company is very, very large. One of the things that is important for us at the exchange to make sure that we can attract international investors. You may or may not know, a few years ago, Israel was in the MSCI index of developing countries, and we were very proud when they told us we are no longer a developing country, we're a developed country. So they dropped us. And from being a very, very big fish in a small pond, we became a very, very tiny fish in a very big pond. And as a result, very quickly, international investment interest in the Israeli public companies went down, because investors usually work from a universe, an index. And now we are in the MSCI World Index, but no longer in the developing countries. Our weighting in there is tiny, and we saw a drop in investment from abroad. The other fact is that we're seeing lately there is a move from active to passive investment. What we mean by that is people are much more comfortable, and institutional investors are much more comfortable in basically saying, I can't spend the time analyzing every company. I'm going to buy an index in the form of an ETF, or in Israel's case, an ETN. And I think investors want to be exposed to Israeli technology. So what we created and launched this week is the Tel Aviv Big Tech Index. And the reason it is unique is I think the only index, as far as I know, in the world that combines in it companies, and in our case, technology companies, that are Israeli-oriented. There are 57 of them. And it doesn't matter at all where they list or they trade. They can be on NASDAQ, on Tel Aviv, in London, all of the above. They will all be part of an index. And obviously, when indices are created, eventually people start buying baskets of them via ETFs and others. I have exactly 0 seconds, so I will sum it up. Private company markets, make sure we service the small and medium-sized enterprises that grow quickly, and have a lot of indices that look and provide exposure to the Israeli technology to foreign and local investors. Thank you.